vielleicht nur als Impulsant.
Hi, welcome to WION World is One. You're watching the West Asia Post, our weekly show, where we get you stories from one of the most volatile regions of the world, the West Asia. I'm Isha Hanspal. Well, the long-simmering Iran-Israel conflict shows signs of boiling over. We have all the developments lined up for you, but first, let's take a look at the headlines.
Explosions echo over an Iranian city in what reports describe as an Israeli attack. But Tehran plays down the incident and indicates it has no plans for retaliation, as world leaders urge restraint. Iran's foreign minister warns that Tehran would make Israel regret any attack on his country at the UN Security Council meeting. United States vetoes a Palestinian bid for full United Nations membership. 12 of the 15-member Security Council were in favor. Britain and Switzerland abstained during an hours-long Security Council session in New York. Thousands gathered in Tel Aviv to push the Israeli government for a ceasefire deal to free the remaining hostages in Gaza. A video circulating on social media shows an Iranian woman collapsing outside a metro station after she was confronted by morality police for her dress code.
Tensions are soaring in West Asia. Explosions rocked Iran's central city of Isfahan on Friday morning, giving rise to speculation that Israel's counter-strike has begun. Iran played down the incident, saying no foreign missile had been fired into Iran. Well, the fact is, the Israel-Iran conflict is out of the shadows, and world powers are worried. In our top story today, we question, can West Asia afford a direct Iran-Israel war?
The latest scare as the Israel-Iran conflict comes out of the shadows. News of blasts in Iran-Isfahan on Friday morning. Alarm bells rang out. Flights moving into Iran's airspace took a sharp U-turn as focus turned to the safety of the country's nuclear facilities. Tehran chose to play it down though, saying there were no signs of foreign attacks, saying the explosions were caused by its air defense systems. There's no turning away from the fact, however, that the heat is on, and on both sides.
In general, we're not in favor of war, one way or the other. War is destructive. We're against war. We do not accept. Whether this side attacks or that side attacks, we do not accept it. We're not happy with the killing of people, whether they're Iranians, Israelis, or Gazans.
Go back just 5 days. April 13th marked a new chapter in Iran-Israel tensions. Iran launched a flurry of missiles and drones towards Israel, retaliating to a suspected Israeli attack on its embassy in Syria. Israel and its allies intercepted 99% of that fire. Global powers pressed Israel not to respond or to ensure that any retaliation was limited to prevent a wider escalation. Israel thanked its friends but stressed it reserved the right to make a decision for itself.
I thank our friends for their support in the defense of Israel, and I say this, both support in words and support in actions. They also have all kinds of suggestions and advice. I appreciate it, but I want to make it clear. We will make our own decisions, and the State of Israel will do everything necessary to defend itself.
Iran on its part is calling its April 13 attack a trailer. Tehran warned that even the tiniest retaliation by Israel will have massive repercussions.
If the Zionist regime makes the slightest move to violate our territory and harm the national interests of the Islamic Republic, they must understand that they will face a severe and heavy response.
And in this war of words, Iran added a new dimension, asserting it will review its nuclear doctrine. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei spoke out on Tehran's nuclear program, which the West suspects has military purposes.
If any threat or action against our country's nuclear facility is made by the Zionist regime and used as a tool to pressure the Islamic Republic, it becomes possible for the Islamic Republic to review its nuclear doctrine and policies and to deviate from its previously announced considerations.
As various countries condemned Tehran's strikes on Israel, Tehran called the envoys of Britain, France and Germany to tell them that it is an irresponsible stance. Israel's war cabinet is using the opportunity to garner global support against Iran.
The world clearly stood together with Israel in face of danger. Israel against Iran, the world against Iran. This is the result. This is a strategic achievement which we must leverage for Israel's security.
Israel is facing pleas to step back from the brink of open warfare and choose de-escalation.
The Middle East is on a precipice. Recent days have seen a perilous escalation in words and deeds. One miscalculation, one miscommunication, one mistake could lead to the unthinkable, a full-scale regional conflict that would be devastating for all involved and for the rest of the world. The moment of maximum peril must be a time for maximum restraint.
The United States condemns.
The United States has gone ahead and slapped Iran with more sanctions. Other world powers are looking to put a stop on Iranian production of drones and missiles. European Union leaders are making efforts to isolate Iran.
We condemn this attack launched by Iran against Israel. We have decided to put in place sanctions against Iran. This is a clear signal that we want to send. And we also want to do everything to protect the civilians. Each civilian life matters.
Meanwhile, activity has picked up on another war front in West Asia. On the Israel-Lebanon border, Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah are trading fire, striking relentlessly at each other's military posts. Israel says its fighter jet struck Hezbollah infrastructure in southern Lebanon, while Hezbollah claims that it hit Israel's military reconnaissance command center. 14 Israeli soldiers have been killed in cross-border fire. Hezbollah announced the death of 2 of its fighters on Thursday. Over 300 people have lost their lives in Lebanon since October 7th last year. Observers watch with concern. A former Mossad official is worried about what lies ahead.
I described Iran sending missiles, launching missiles to Israel, and which actually happened just the other day. And I described the Israeli response that at that time, when Israel was losing in all fronts, it had to be a nuclear strike on Iran, and this is what I described.
So, here we are?
Just 2 steps before.
The world attention has shifted from the war in Gaza. All eyes are now on how Israel will respond to Iran's weekend attack. The IDF troops are back in parts of northern and southern Gaza and are continuing the assault. The bigger question now is, will the IDF start an operation in Rafah, where currently over 1.4 million displaced people are taking shelter?
What should I say? I swear we are tired. What's happening is a disgrace. What have those who were killed done to deserve this? They should look at us with compassion. They should look at us with mercy. We are enough. We are melting. We can't take any more than this. Everyone dear to us is gone. What is left? Who should we live for? For who?
After 2 weeks of absence, the Israeli tanks are back in northern Gaza. Trying to get back to their homes, the displaced residents are being driven back by the Israeli military with firing and warnings. Hundreds of displaced Palestinians are being prevented from returning home in the northern enclave.
After 7 months, that's it. We are all just waiting for death one by one. We don't know when and how. Children like these, the majority of them are children. We pull them out and we can't tell them apart. We don't know who's left under the rubble.
Israel is shelling the Gaza Strip. For the Palestinians, no place is safe. That even includes UN Palestinian refugee agencies, according to reports.
I was sitting and making food for my children. Then there was an airstrike. My husband was injured and my children were injured. But I can't find my daughter. They attacked us when we were inside the room.
Besides North Gaza, Israeli warplanes also carried out airstrikes in Rafah, once designated as a safe place for the Palestinians in the south.
The destruction in Rafah. Every day there's targeting in Rafah. Every day. Daily there's targeting in Rafah. There's no safe place, not in Rafah, nor in Khan Yunis, or in Gaza, and not in the entire Gaza Strip. They brought the displaced to Rafah, and as you can see, the targeting. Every day there's targeting in Rafah.
Israel has long threatened a ground offensive in Rafah. Reports say Israel has deployed extra artillery and armored carriers in the periphery of the Gaza Strip. The IDF claims it is arranging 40,000 tents to prepare for the evacuation of the displaced, taking refuge in Rafah. But it is a different story on the ground, according to Palestinians. The presence of the Israeli ground troops has increased in northern Gaza. This includes Beit Hanun, where fresh raids are forcing many families who returned home after Israeli forces had withdrawn to move out again. According to Gaza health officials, so far over 33,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire since October 7. It has turned much of the densely populated strip, home to 2.3 million people, into rubble, twisted steel and dust.
With that, it's time for a short break. But stay with us. We have a lot more lined up for you on the other side of the break.
Hundreds rally in Niger capital Niamey for US departure and Russia support as Russian instructors arrive to train Niger forces in the use of new military hardware. Sudan still in turmoil 365 days later as the warring paramilitary and army continue to trade barbs and wreak havoc across the nation. And in Uganda, young wrestlers dream of one day emulating their heroes and joining World Wrestling Entertainment. Watch World of Africa at these times on WION. World is One.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
This week on Take It Out, we tell you about AI-powered TVs that aim to redefine the viewing experience. Find out about 2 new Android phones that cost less than 30,000 rupees. And we show you some life-changing display technologies. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
Welcome back to the West Asia Post. I'm Isha Hanspal. A look now at a few other stories from West Asia. Well, West Asian nations are also witnessing unusual weather. Floods have caused chaos in the United Arab Emirates and the Gulf nations of Oman and Bahrain. UAE witnessed its heaviest rainfall in the past 75 years. One of the world's busiest airports in the region was paralyzed due to flash floods. Take a look. The Syrian war started 13 years ago, displacing most of the country's residents. Syrians took refuge in more than 130 countries. The vast majority fled to neighboring nations, one of them being Lebanon. With this new wave of tensions, many are forced to seek refuge in other areas yet again. A large number of people are now taking asylum in Cyprus. Due to this, Cyprus has decided to suspend asylum applications from Syrians. Here's a report.
Cyprus is concerned over the surge in numbers of Syrian refugees arriving in the country. Nicosia last weekend made the announcement of suspending asylum applications by Syrians. Since the start of April, more than 1,000 people have arrived in Cyprus on boats from Lebanon. This comes amid the deepening tensions in West Asia. The Mediterranean island has a population of 1.2 million and is the European Union's easternmost state and also the closest to West Asia. It lies about 160 kilometers west of the shores of Lebanon and Syria, and in the initial months of 2024, it recorded more than 2,000 arrivals by sea, compared to just 78 over the same period last year. According to the Cypriot authorities, boats arrive on various parts of the island, taking a perilous sea journey of about 10 hours. The boat mainly carries Syrian asylum seekers. As Cyprus is cheaper and easier, many people prefer the island to get to relative other destinations. It has been overflowing with the migrant population, and also because of the pull of steadily growing Syrian population, has led the island's reception capacity at a breaking point. As part of a larger review of migration policies, the Interior Minister of Cyprus had earlier stated that although the island was increasing its ability to accommodate migrants with the aid of EU money, it also wanted Brussels to take into consideration designating certain areas of war-torn Syria as safe for repatriation. According to an UNHRC spokesperson, they have urged the Republic of Cyprus to continue upholding its international obligations under the 1951 Refugee Convention, which prohibits the return of individuals to a place where they would face threats to their life or freedom. However, the UN Refugee Agency says it is closely monitoring the situation, but it is unclear how many Syrians might be affected by the move, as just over 8,500 asylum applicants were made from 2023 to the end of March 2024. Suspending the examination of asylum requests means new arrivals will either have to stay in government reception camps with food, shelter and regulated exits, or live independently and forfeit the right to any benefits.
In Iraq, the minority Yazidi community celebrates the New Year by lighting oil lamps at a sacred shrine. People adorn traditional Yazidi clothes, carry candles to mark the creation of the universe by the angels, and celebrate nature and fertility. As Yazidis pray for a better future, their New Year celebrations are also a reminder of the atrocities committed by the Islamic State group. Take a look at these visuals. That's all we have on this edition of the West Asia Post. We will see you next week with a brand new lineup. Till then, keep watching WION. World is One for all the global news and updates. Bye.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved. 61 people are confirmed dead and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
The stress of our